Well, hi all, and welcome to the animated texture tutorial. So today we are going to look at a few different ways to create grain and texture to really simple layers in After Effects to create some depth and visual interest and extra movement going on in your motion design project. So I already have a file open for what we're going to do today. So what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and launch After Effects, and you are going to you're going to start a new composition in there. So you're going to go to New Composition. Our comp settings today are going to be 1920 by 1080, which is that 16:9 aspect ratio. And go ahead and set your project for a duration of 8 seconds. And then in terms of frame rate, we could go ahead and do 24 actually for today. So 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames and a duration of 8 seconds. Go ahead and hit OK. I am just going to come back over here. So we are going to be creating two different compositions. So it'll be two parts to the tutorial. So the first one is fuzzy. So we're going to be working with some text and I thought I named that fuzzy too. Okay, so I guess my first one's called grain, but we're going to be looking at how to create some animated grain around some text. And then for the second one, we are going to look at creating some nice animated texture for this simple eye that we're going to make and add some things to that. So, these types of textures will give you depth to your project, like I was saying, and it just makes it look a little bit higher quality in terms of a particular visual style. So this is kind of going towards maybe a more handmade or low tech kind of style, but it should elevate, it's a good way to elevate your project depending on the aesthetic you're going for. This all depends on the type of visual style you're trying to achieve, which I'll try to cover as, many different ways to achieve different visual styles as possible throughout the term. Okay, so the other thing about these tutorials as we go further into the term is that these are advanced animation techniques. So you are going to find that we are going to be creating compositions and we're going to be piling a lot of steps onto a particular comp. I try to keep it as simple as possible, but the nature of motion design and animation in general is it's very technical and it's very step by step. And it's all about learning different tools and how to make different combinations of tools work together for your desired outcome. Okay, so just know that if you're not a tutorial person per se, but you love doing this stuff and you have a hard time following the tutorials, please reach out for help from me, especially as we go into these more advanced techniques, because it is going to be a lot of, following me step by step in the tutorial. And it's really hard to get a happy medium for everybody. Sometimes it'll be moving way too fast for you and you might feel some frustration there. And on the flip side, some of you might feel some frustration because it's moving way too slow. So understand that everybody's different and I'm just trying to hit a happy medium so that I can help everybody. But, you need to reach out for that individual assistance depending on what's going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and we are going to start out with a new solid layer, also known as Command Y. I'm going to choose a different background color for this particular a composition, and let's go ahead and also do a text layer here. So I'm going to just use Fuzzy Wuzzy because I'm not creative. After I prepare for a tutorial, I just do whatever I was doing earlier. So my creativity's gone, usually, which means I'm left with all technical things. So you're going to want to choose a font that has some thickness to it. So you can choose whatever you want, but go through and find something. I would do all caps, something that's nice and blocky so that you're really seeing how the effect is working on that text. If you choose something that's thin and scripted, it is going to be a little bit harder for it to really have a nice effect. And for this, we have a simple amount of text, in our composition. So we want to have it be nice and thick and easily to see for whoever's looking at it. Okay, so we are going to start with Fuzzy Wuzzy. We're going to go ahead and apply something called CC Radial Fast Blur. So in your effects and presets window, come on over here and you can just type in radial. Now, if you're not seeing this, you can always find your windows under your window tab and then your workspace. I always tend to work in standard for these. So you can always come on over here if the panels are looking weird and it's driving you nuts, and reset it to the standard workspace. All right, so we've got CC Radial Fast Blur right here. So I'm going to go ahead and you can either drag and drop or double click. I'm going to double click it since I know that I have that particular layer selected over here. And at first it's just going to look like it's blurred everything, which is true. It did blur everything. But there's a particular adjustment that we can make on this that makes things look pretty cool, and it's called the center. So if you look over your text, your text layer here with the radial fast blur selected, you're not going to see it if it's not selected. But if you select radial fast blur, you're going to see this little circle in the center with like a bullseye. And this is where all the magic happens with this particular effect, okay? So let's go ahead and take the amount. We're just going to take it up to 75 and make it a little bit more dramatic here. And then for the zoom right here, let's go from standard to brightest. And that's going to give us a little bit more definition in how our letters are looking. So now if you take this center and drag it around, you can see it's, the letters are a little bit more defined, but those blur rays are also a little bit more defined and doing some fun stuff there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I want to do something a little bit more complex. I don't want to just animate this maybe from left to right to show that movement. I want to do something a little bit more complex. So what we are going to do is actually create a path in Illustrator, and we're going to take that path and we're going to copy and paste it into After Effects. Okay, and this is how you can get a really fancy, precise animation path in After Effects. So let's go ahead and launch Illustrator. Okay, in Illustrator, we're going to do a new file. Let's go ahead and do something that's 16 by 9 inches, which is our 16:9 ratio on our board. We only need one artboard for this. It's going to be super simple. So 16 by 9 inches, one artboard. Let's go ahead and create. And that aspect ratio doesn't actually look right. I'm going to just investigate and see what happened here. And it's, I don't know, something set back. It didn't listen to me. So I have my artboard tool selected. So if it didn't work for you for some reason, I'm just going to, with my artboard tool selected, I'm going to click on the artboard and I can just change it over here. I'm not sure why it did that. I must have missed something. Happens in tutorials. The wacky things happen to me in tutorials. Okay, so here's a little bit better looking aspect ratio. And the reason that I want it to be the same size as the screen I'm working on in After Effects is so that I can have an idea of what it's going to look like in the frame, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and grab the pen tool. I'm going to click down and I just want a straight line across. So I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to come all the way across and I'm going to click. I just want a straight, simple line across an Illustrator. Now our path tool or our pen tools sort of preview indicator is still thinking that I want to draw more, I'm going to hit my P key to go ahead and break that. Now, what you want to do is with your new artwork selected here, we are going to go to Effect. We're going to go to Distort and Transform, and we're going to choose Zigzag. Okay? When you get Zigzag up, we're going to bring the size up so that it's pretty dramatic. Remember, we're thinking about the size of this as it is to our screen and our text that we're doing. Ridges per segment, I don't really want that many. It shouldn't be super complicated, so I'm just going to do 5. And then I'm going to hit Smooth so that it's wavy. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, you should have a wavy line like so. There's one other thing we need to do, though. It has an effect applied to it, so the actual stroke itself is still a flat line like so. What I need to do is expand this so that this becomes the true path of my object. So we're taking the effect and, making it a real, it's a real manipulation, I guess. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Object, Expand Appearance, and now our path is real. Okay, so now we have this nice wavy path. I just need a stroke on it. Whoops, I don't need a fill on it. It actually doesn't really even matter, but just for the purposes of this tutorial, so we just have a stroke on here. And so now what we're going to do is you're going to select the path, and we're going to simply hit Command or Control C for copy, or you can go to Edit, Copy up here. We're going to come into After Effects, and with our new shape layer ready to go. Now, you do have 2 buttons up here that says Creates Shape or Creates Mask. So before you, or when you come over to hit Layer, New Shape Layer, you do want to have the shape there selected. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on the shape layer, and then all you need to do is actually hit Command or Control V. You're going to see that path shows up there. Or you could go to Edit and Paste here. All right, so now we have this path on this layer, and what we want to do is apply an animation to where the center of the radial blur is going to animate along this path. So that'll give us a nice, cool, sort of wiggly animation. So what we're going to do is on the shape layer 1, now the first thing is I want this to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to come over here and bring the scale up, and hopefully that will adjust the size of it. And we're going to come on here, and you're going to toggle down under Contents. There's a mask area, and under Mask, there's the mask path. Make sure that you have mask path highlighted. You're going to hit Command or Control C to copy that. You're going to come down to your text layer. You're going to come under CC Radial Fast Blur. You're going to click on Center, and you're going to hit Command Paste. What you are hopefully going to see is this series of keyframes popping up on your timeline, and you're going to see that the center of the blur effect is animated to that wiggly path. Now, that's really cool because that gives us a very calculated, sort of even animation that's being applied here. And it's going to look a lot better than us just moving the center around randomly, depending on the look that we're going for. Okay, so now that we have this set of keyframes going on, what I want to do is I want to stretch it over the course of this entire timeline, because it's going to apply the position from the path that we just copied, but it'll just give it a default amount of time. In this case, it's given us 2 seconds. So what you're going to do is just marquee select all of the keyframes like so. You're going to hold down your Option or Alt key on the end one. And you're going to click down and you're going to drag. And you're going to drag it all the way to the end. So what this is going to do is give us a nice illustration, or I'm sorry, animation, my goodness, over the entire compositions timeline.